In this session, we'll talk about Iray, rendering realistic objects like mechanical objects and cars in Iray. Iray is a renderer from Mental Ray, a progressive path trace renderer, a fully GPU based render engine. You can see its site. It's not very popular with people, but it's really nice to work with. It's available for 3ds Max and Bunk Speed, Katia, and Cinema 4D. I'll be working with 3ds Max and Iray. Iray is a really nice render engine. It's like very similar to Mental Ray, and I think almost all features of Mental Ray is available here. But very simple, easy to work with a render engine, and it's pretty fast because Iray can work with it can take both your CPU plus GPU in rendering, so it's really faster. It can take your entire CPU. I have a 12 core CPU plus a GPU, so you can basically use a CPU plus GPU. Mostly the other GPU renders can only take the advantage of your GPU, but this can take advantage of CPUs and multiple GPUs. As of now, I don't have multiple GPUs. If you have seen this renderer here, and if you go to hardware resources, I have only one graphic card. If you have multiple graphic cards, I have one Coder 4000. If you have multiple graphic cards, obviously this Iray can take advantage of all those graphic cards. Now let's move on to the scene. This is what we'll be working on, this Skoda Fabia scene. This is the render results. So you can see this. We will be trying for a studio render like this. We'll be talking about how to set up a studio render in Iray like this, and we'll be talking about to set up something like this, which is an exterior shot with combined with an HDR. So you can see this. So we'll be talking how do we set up these kind of scenes, and first we'll move on to this kind of a studio light setup, and we'll see how do we set up the lights and materials. And I'll be using mostly I'll be using Iray material. So you can see that if I'm using 3ds Max 2013, and I'm using the new Iray material for most of the materials are Iray material. You can see this material, Iray material. It's a multi-layered material like your car paint, which has a reflective and coating and metallic flakes. A really nice render engine. Really nice material. So you have to download this. It's not available by default with Iray, so you may have to download it. You will find that in my blog. It's available otherwise also. You can search, or if you wanted it, it's in my blog. You can check my blog. It's renderregion.weebly.com. In that you can find in the blog section. I have the Iray material plugin download option here. You can download the material from this section here. And one more script I'll be using is the Iray manager script. You can see that I have an Iray manager script enabled here, which helps me to do some. It's a little more. I'll get some more control on Iray with this script. So I have added the script. This is also not available by default. You may have to add the script. So that script is available. Again, you can come to this blog. I have the script link here, or you can otherwise go to this. You can do it VFX. So this is where you get the script. So I have just given the link in my blog, so you may find it here easily. Okay. So we'll start with the scene. This is this Skoda Fabia, and as of now, nothing is set up. So it is with the default material. So yeah. So first thing is I'm creating an HDR, and most of the lighting in Iray is using HDRs, and I have rendered all the scenes using HDRs. And for creating a studio light HDR, I'm using HDR Studio. I think this is also familiar software. So you can HDR light with the live light. So I have my live light here. So I'm using this software, this piece of small software, to generate or create HDRs, so I can control the illumination. And it's a pretty simple software, and you have I think tutorials online available to work with. I'll just get an introduction to this tool. So the first thing is I need the model to be imported here. So I can import an OBJ as well as an MI file. MI is a mental trace model format, so I can import an MI file as well as an OBJ file. I find MI is more stable than OBJ, so I would prefer to import an MI. So first thing is I'll select the camera, This is my camera angle, and it's very important that you have to render in this particular camera angle. I'm not creating this HDR for a moving camera, or it's not applicable for all the camera angles. It's very specific for this camera angle. So I need to export a model in this camera angle. So what I do is go to render setup, and as of now I'm not using Iray. For this function I think I have to use mental ray, because Iray as of don't have a function to export an MI file. So what I do is I'll load mental ray. Mental ray is anyway available with my this. So go to processing, and you have an option to export an MI file. So select your output module. I'll just keep here and just delete this. This already I have exported here, so I'll just say Fabia, and yeah. And what you need to do is just press the render button once. To export, you need to press the render button. There is no export option. Once you render it, it's gonna export the model. So once you export it, it's easy to drag and drop into live light. So I have the model over here, so I just need to drag and drop here. So take live light. So I have live light here, so I just drag and drop it here, so you can load that particular model here. So it's loading, so you can see that. So come back to this one. Okay, so you can either see reflection alone, or just the illumination, or the combined version of it. As of now there is no light to create reflections, so what I'm doing first is just to show you how do we do it here. So I'm just gonna create a light here, and you can control the properties of light from these controls like wattage, length of the bulb, bulb position, fall off, and opacity, and all those things. So what we have to do is we have to create an interesting look based on the references what you have. I have collected a couple of references for this. I have a lot of reference cards. As if I'm looking for a studio render, so I'll have a couple of references for a studio light and find where all the reflections are falling, like something like this, where how the light is falling. So I can create a similar kind of patterns where all I need highlights. So I can start working here to create something like that. I may either use a combined version, that is illumination plus reflection, or just the reflection. Mostly what I'm trying to analyze here is to get the reflections in the correct places. So I would be mostly using that I'll be just using reflections and make sure that I get reflections on the right places. Okay, so I can control it like how long I need it. So so I may be controlling with the size of this, and I'll be reducing the opacity of this. That's not very much, and so I'll generate something like this, fall off, and so I have some highlights over here. And consider I need something on the grill, so I need to highlight the grill. I may either duplicate this, or maybe creating another different kind of shape, and just say that I need some area. So these are a different kind of light shapes, so you can use any of these light shapes to create a reflection pattern. So I'm looking for another interesting area where I can fix the light. I wanted the grills to be highlighted. Mostly these grills are gonna be a chrome or a metallic object, so I need a proper reflection over here. That's what the second light is. Again, I'm reducing the having a little fall off, and reducing the opacity, so my reflections are very slight, not very prominent. So this is the way I build up the entire light. So I can after that I can just render and export into either an HDR format or an EXR format, and I can import that back to 3ds Max. I have already created one for this car, and make sure that you don't rotate it, because once you rotate it you lose the camera angle. So once you don't have the right camera angle, I think you'll have to import it back again, because it's very important you create the HDR in the correct camera angle. And here you have an option that you may even use an HDR along with it. That means you can use a photographic HDR along with it, so you may get some realistic reflections also along with it. So you may use some HDRs like this and work further on, like you have already an HDR and you are building further on that, or you're boosting that HDR. So if you have a collection of HDRs already, that's also a preferable method, that you start with an HDR. Sorry, that's not in the correct size. It's make sure you need to have an unwrapped HDR. I think none of them are unwrapped, so I'll go back and pick this window small. These are not of right proportion. They require an unwrapped. None of them are unwrapped. I'm leaving that way. So you may use HDR Studio to unwrap those HDRs and take into latitude, longitude. So you may use it here. So I'm leaving the software and opening Max back. So I have already created an HDR pattern. As of now, for this I'm using just a ramp. So I can even use a transparent one, which there is only the lights works here, or you may use a gradient, which by default having a gradient, so some lights are by default given there. That's a light and dark pattern is already there. Once you render it, you can choose a size, what is the resolution that you're looking for, okay, and render it to a size. I have already done that, so I'll just go to 3ds Max and pick that particular HDR. I'll press M to get my material editor, and obviously I'll have to place the environment in the environment dialog. Okay, here I need to place that HDR. I have already done that. So yeah, so you just need to pick that HDR. I have already made an HDR. I'll share that with you. That is Fabi HDR. This is something I made it in HDR Studio. So I think this is suitable as of now. So, and only one thing you need to make sure that when you're importing an HDR to 3ds Max is that you need to give an offset value of -0.05, because then only the placement will be correct on this. So I'm just giving a placement value of -0.05. This is very important, then only you will get the right placement. I have added a little blur here. I'll add a little blur here, so that can soften the environment, and it's a spherical environment. Okay, so let's see that I have loaded that here in my environment dialog box here. Okay, and I have a photographic exposure. So we'll just see a basic render. How does it look with an HDR? So I'll go to render setup, and go to common and just take a small size, something like 320, and render it. I don't want it to output it to anywhere, so I just check the output off. Okay, I have it is still on mental ray. I'm just changing into Iray. Okay, so and Iray doesn't have a lot of render settings or something. Iray has a single option here that how long you want to render. What I set is as of now unlimited. That means it can go unlimited iterations, and whenever I feel like to stop, whenever I feel like the render is fine, I can stop there. I can save it any moment. This is what very cool about Iray is this, that you can set up the render, that you can say that I want a render that is in 1 minute. So the number of iterations after a minute it stops. So you can say that number of passes, or you can say unlimited. So whenever you feel like the render looks neater, you can stop the render there. Or if you prefer a time, it will render up to 1 minute and there it stops. So I always prefer unlimited, so I can choose whenever I feel that the iterations are fine. So I would I haven't applied any materials. It's only the HDR which is giving the look. So so I'll open a file which has already the materials are assigned. I will come back with the next file.